What would you think if I told you that the solid ground beneath your feet, the chair you are sitting on, and even the hand you use to touch the screen are not solid at all, but rather a chaotic, rhythmic dance of energy moving at speeds incomprehensible to the human eye? It is a staggering thought, one that challenges the very foundation of sensory perception, yet it is the fundamental truth that Nikola Tesla spent his entire life trying to communicate to a world that was not quite ready to hear it. The quote is famous, plastered across the internet and cited in physics classrooms and spiritual circles alike. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. But to merely quote Tesla is to miss the profound, almost terrifying depth of what he was actually proposing. He was not speaking in metaphors. He was describing the mechanical blueprint of reality itself, a blueprint that modern quantum physics is only just beginning to fully validate nearly a century later. To understand this is to peel back the curtain of the physical world and glimpse the machinery of the cosmos. Everything in existence, from the furthest star collapsing into a black hole to the firing neurons in your brain as you process these words, is vibrating. Nothing rests. This is the law of vibration, the second of the 7 Hermetic principles, but for Tesla, it was more than ancient philosophy. It was an engineering parameter. Consider the atom, the building block of matter. For centuries, science treated the atom as a solid particle, a tiny billiard ball that acted as the fundamental unit of reality. But when we cracked the atom open, we found no solid core. We found protons, neutrons, and electrons, but even these are not things in the way we understand things. They are vortices of energy, spinning and vibrating in a vast void. If you were to magnify an atom to the size of a football stadium, the nucleus would be a marble on the 50-yard line, and the electrons would be tiny gnats buzzing in the highest bleachers. The rest, 99.9999999% of it, is empty space. But Tesla argued that this space is not empty. It is filled with potential, with energy, with the medium that carries the waves of the universe. When you touch a wall, your hand does not pass through it, not because the wall is solid, but because the frequency of the energy fields in the atoms of your hand repels the frequency of the energy fields in the wall. You are literally feeling the force of vibration, not matter. This brings us to the core of Tesla's obsession: frequency. Frequency is simply the rate at which a vibration occurs. It is the distinct signature of energy. If you change the frequency, you change the structure of matter. This is not science fiction. It is the principle behind everything from your microwave oven to the tuning fork. When a soprano singer shatters a crystal glass with her voice, she has not hit the glass with a physical object. She has simply matched the resonant frequency of the glass, the natural speed at which the glass's molecules wish to vibrate. By matching that frequency and increasing the amplitude, the energy transfer becomes so efficient that the glass can no longer hold its structural integrity, and it explodes. Tesla extrapolated this concept to a planetary scale. He believed that the Earth itself was a conductor with a specific resonant frequency, a heartbeat that could be tapped into, manipulated, and utilized. He wasn't just guessing. In 1898, Tesla reportedly attached a small electromechanical oscillator to the iron pillar of a building in Manhattan. He tuned the oscillator to the resonant frequency of the building's steel structure. Within minutes, the vibration began to build, not as a violent shaking at first, but as a hum that grew exponentially until the police were called because windows were shattering and heavy machinery was dancing across the floor miles away. Tesla had effectively created a localized earthquake using a device that could fit in his pocket, simply by understanding the science of resonance. Imagine if you could apply this principle not just to steel beams, but to the ether itself. This is where the narrative of standard physics and Tesla's physics begin to diverge, and where the story becomes truly fascinating. Conventional science in the early 20th century moved away from the concept of the ether, the invisible medium that permeates all space, largely due to Einstein's theory of relativity. However, Tesla held fast to the idea. He perceived the universe as a dynamic ocean of energy. To him, wireless transmission of power was not about sending electricity through the air like a radio wave. It was about disturbing the equilibrium of the Earth's electrical charge, causing the energy to ripple to the other side of the globe instantly, much like dropping a stone in a pond causes ripples to reach the bank without the water itself moving from the center to the edge. He viewed electricity as a fluid, a vibration of the ether, rather than a stream of tiny particles. If you accept his premise that the universe is a symphony of oscillating fields, then the limitations of distance and scarcity of energy dissolve. You must understand that for Tesla, energy was not a commodity to be burned or metered. It was the ambient state of nature. The sun showers the earth in terawatts of power. The earth itself is a giant battery spinning in a magnetic field. We are swimming in energy, yet we act as if we are starving for it, burning dead fossils to keep the lights on. Tesla's worldview suggests that we are like a man floating in a freshwater lake, dying of thirst because he doesn't know how to cup his hands and drink. The key to the cup is frequency. If you can build a machine that vibrates in harmony with the ambient energy of the cosmos, you no longer need fuel. You become a receiver. This is the logic behind his Wardenclyffe Tower. It was never just a radio tower. It was a magnifying transmitter, designed to grip the Earth and shake it electromagnetically, to pump the planet with energy so that anyone, anywhere, could stick a rod into the ground and receive unlimited free power. It was the ultimate application of energy, frequency, and vibration. However, to truly grasp the magnitude of this triad, we must look beyond the mechanical and into the biological. The human body is also an oscillator. Your heart beats at a rhythm, your lungs pump at a specific cadence, and your brain operates on cycles of electrical impulses. Electroencephalography, or EEG, measures these brain waves: delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. These are frequencies. When you are in a state of deep sleep, your brain vibrates at a low frequency. When you are stressed or solving a complex math problem, it vibrates at a high frequency. Tesla suggested that our biology is not separate from the cosmic mechanism. If external frequencies can shatter glass or shake buildings, what do they do to the human mind? We know that prolonged exposure to certain low-frequency electromagnetic fields can cause anxiety, nausea, and hallucination. Conversely, specific frequencies are used in medicine to promote bone healing and tissue regeneration. The interface between the external frequency of the environment and the internal frequency of the biological organism is where the next frontier of science lies. We exist in a bandwidth of reality that is defined by our sensory limitations. Our eyes can only see the visible light spectrum, which is a tiny, almost insignificant sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum. We cannot see radio waves, X-rays, or gamma rays, yet they are just as real, just as present, and just as physical as the chair you are sitting on. They simply vibrate at a frequency we are not tuned to receive. This leads to a somewhat unsettling realization. If reality is defined by frequency, then there are likely layers of reality existing right here, right now, occupying the same space as you, but vibrating at a rate that renders them invisible and intangible to your current state of existence. Just as a radio can be tuned to 101.5 FM and ignore 98.7 FM, your consciousness is tuned to the physical matter channel. Tesla's work hints that if we could change the tuning fork of our technology, or perhaps even our consciousness, we could access these other layers. The universe is not empty. It is merely quiet to those who do not know how to listen. The focus on vibration also explains the immense power of resonance in systems of control and chaos. In a mechanical system, if you input energy at the wrong time, off-beat, it cancels out the motion. This is destructive interference, but if you input energy at the exact right moment, on the beat, the energy sums up. This is constructive interference. This is how a child can push a heavy adult on a swing set if they just push at the right moment. Tesla realized that you do not need a massive amount of energy to create a massive effect. You only need perfect timing. You need the right frequency. This principle applies to the tectonic plates of the Earth, the oscillation of electrical currents, and arguably the swaying of public opinion or the stability of financial markets. It is a universal law. By understanding the resonant frequency of a system, you gain dominion over it. You can destroy it with a whisper, or you can sustain it with a breath. As we delve deeper into this analysis, we must strip away the mysticism often associated with the New Age interpretation of Tesla's words and look at the hard, cold physics. The vibration he speaks of is the oscillation of electromagnetic fields. The frequency is the measurable hertz. The energy is the capacity to do work. But when combined, they describe a universe that is fluid, interconnected, and responsive. The separation between the observer and the observed begins to blur when you realize that both are composed of the same vibrating energy, merely organized into different patterns. The iron in your blood and the iron in the skyscraper vibrate to the same fundamental laws. If the universe is indeed a grand symphony of vibrating strings of energy, as modern string theory suggests, and as Tesla intuitively grasped, then matter is simply frozen light. It is energy vibrating at a frequency slow enough to be perceived by our senses as solid. This realization forces us to look at the geometry of the physical world not as fixed shapes, but as the result of acoustic pressure. There is a field of study called cymatics that perfectly visualizes what Tesla was trying to explain. Imagine a flat metal plate covered in fine sand. If you draw a violin bow across the edge of that plate or attach it to a speaker playing a specific tone, the sand does not move randomly. It organizes itself. At a low frequency, the sand forms simple circles or lines, but as you increase the frequency, as you raise the pitch, the sand snaps into incredibly complex, beautiful geometric mandalas. The chaos of the sand is ordered by the invisible force of sound vibration. Now, apply this logic to the universe. What if the structure of a flower, the spiral of a galaxy, or the lattice of a crystal is simply matter organizing itself in response to a cosmic frequency? Tesla believed that if you could understand the geometric patterns of vibration, you could manipulate matter itself. This brings us to the mechanism of the Tesla coil, perhaps his most famous and misunderstood invention. To the casual observer, it is a machine that makes lightning. But to the physicist, it is a resonant transformer, a device designed to demonstrate the immense power of high-frequency potential. A standard transformer works by magnetic induction, transferring energy from one coil to another to step voltage up or down. But the Tesla coil uses resonance. It consists of two open electric circuits connected by a spark gap. When the primary coil oscillates at a specific frequency, and the secondary coil is tuned to resonate at that exact same frequency, the energy transfer is magnified exponentially. It is the same principle as the playground swing. A small push, low input energy, at the exact right moment, resonance, creates a massive arc, high output voltage. Tesla achieved millions of volts not by burning more coal, but by mastering the timing of the energy release. He proved that with resonance, you can achieve output effects that seem to defy the input limitations, creating a voltage so high it tears the electrons off air molecules, creating plasma, what we see as lightning. However, Tesla took this further with his exploration of the skin effect, a phenomenon that reveals the strange behavior of electricity at high frequencies. In his public demonstrations, Tesla would often stand on a platform, let millions of volts surge through his body, and light a bulb held in his hand. The audience watched in terror, expecting him to be electrocuted instantly. Why did he survive? Because at extremely high frequencies, alternating current, AC, tends to flow along the outer surface of a conductor rather than through its center. The current literally danced over Tesla's skin, avoiding his internal organs and heart, allowing him to act as a human conduit for raw power. This was a direct application of frequency manipulation. By altering the speed of the vibration, he changed the nature of the danger. He transformed a lethal force into a harmless light show, proving that the properties of energy, whether it heals or kills, are dictated entirely by its frequency. This understanding of frequency allowed Tesla to conceptualize the Earth not as a rock, but as a spherical capacitor. In electrical engineering, a capacitor is a component that stores energy in an electric field. Tesla realized that the Earth's surface is conductive, and the ionosphere, a layer of the atmosphere filled with charged particles, is also conductive. Between them sits the atmosphere, acting as an insulator. This global system stores an immense electrical charge. Lightning is simply nature's way of discharging this capacitor when the tension gets too high. Tesla asked, "Why wait for lightning? Why not build a machine to tap into this global circuit?" He discovered that the Earth resonates at a specific electromagnetic frequency. Decades later, distinct from Tesla's work but confirming his intuition, physicist Winfried Otto Schumann calculated the heartbeat of the Earth's cavity to be roughly 7.83 Hertz. This is a standing wave that bounces between the ground and the ionosphere. It is always there, a background hum of the planet. Tesla's plan for wireless energy, exemplified by the Wardenclyffe Tower, was designed to pump energy into this Earth ionosphere cavity. He wasn't trying to beam electricity through the air like a laser. He was trying to create a standing wave in the Earth itself. Imagine a tub of water. If you tap the water surface in the center at a random rhythm, you get chaotic ripples. But if you tap it at the exact resonant frequency of the tub, the waves travel to the wall, bounce back, and meet the outgoing waves perfectly. The water creates a stationary pattern of peaks and valleys that grow higher and higher with very little effort. Tesla intended to do this with the planet's electrical charge. By injecting current into the ground at the Earth's resonant frequency, he believed he could make the electrical potential of the entire globe oscillate. Once the Earth was ringing electrically, anyone, anywhere, from the jungles of the Amazon to the streets of Paris, could push a metal rod into the ground and attach a receiver tuned to that frequency, drawing power directly from the Earth's fluctuations. No wires, no meters, just a global connection to a vibrating planetary battery. The implications of this are staggering and threaten the very economic structures of our society, which is perhaps why the project was defunded. If energy is vibrating all around us, and the delivery system is the Earth itself, then energy scarcity is a manufactured illusion. But beyond the utility of power, Tesla saw a philosophical unification. If we are all walking on a conducting sphere that is vibrating in unison, we are physically connected to one another through the ground. A disturbance in the field in New York is felt in Tokyo. We are not isolated entities. We are nodes in a planetary circuit. This is where the physics of vibration crosses into the realm of the metaphysical. Tesla famously said, "Alpha waves in the human brain are between 6 and 8 Hertz. The wave frequency of the human cavity resonates between 6 and 8 Hertz. All biological systems resonate at the same frequency as the Earth's electromagnetic cavity. This is not a coincidence. It suggests that life evolved to be in sync with the planetary vibration. We are literally tuned to the Earth. When we disrupt these frequencies, we disrupt the system." This brings us to a darker side of Tesla's insights, the weaponization of vibration. If you can heal with frequency, you can destroy with it. Tesla claimed to have built a small earthquake machine, a mechanical oscillator that he attached to the framework of a building. By finding the resonant frequency of the steel beams, he created a cumulative vibration that nearly brought the building down. He realized that with a large enough oscillator tuned to the resonant frequency of the Earth's tectonic plates, he could theoretically split the planet in half like an apple. This is the terrifying power of resonance. You do not need a bomb the size of a city to destroy a city. You only need a small rhythmic force applied over time at the precise weak point of the structure. It is the concept of leverage applied to wave mechanics. Furthermore, we must consider the invisible ocean of electromagnetic waves we have created since Tesla's time. We are now bathed in Wi-Fi, radio, cellular signals, and satellite transmissions, all vibrating at frequencies far higher than the natural Schumann resonance of 7.83 Hertz. We have introduced a cacophony of artificial noise into the planetary symphony. If Tesla was right, that our bodies and minds are electrical oscillators tuned to the Earth, then what happens when we surround ourselves with discordant frequencies? Are we jamming our own biological signals? The energy Tesla spoke of is not just electricity for light bulbs, it is the fundamental carrier of information. Every thought you have is an electrical impulse. If you modify the background field, do you modify the thought? The science of energy, frequency, and vibration, ultimately dissolves the boundary between the material and the immaterial. Mass is just concentrated energy, and energy is just vibration. Therefore, you are a collection of vibrations. The difference between you and the air you breathe is merely a difference in the density and rate of oscillation. Tesla's genius was not just in building machines, but in realizing that the machine is a mirror of nature. He did not try to conquer nature, he tried to tune into it. He understood that the universe is not a collection of solid objects colliding in the dark, but a radiant, dynamic web of fields rippling across the ether, waiting for us to build the right receiver. To fully comprehend the depth of Tesla's vision, we must venture into the most controversial territory of his scientific philosophy, the existence of the ether. In the standard model of physics taught in universities today, space is largely defined as a vacuum, a void of nothingness. However, Tesla vehemently disagreed. He adhered to the concept that space was filled with a luminiferous ether, a fluid-like medium that acted as the carrier for light and electricity, much like air carries sound or water carries waves. While Einstein's theory of relativity pushed the ether out of vogue, modern quantum physics has effectively brought it back under a different name, the quantum vacuum or the zero-point field. We now know that if you remove all matter and all heat from a region of space, it is still not empty. It is seething with virtual particles popping in and out of existence, creating a background energy density that is unfathomably high. Tesla intuitively understood this. He didn't see the universe as a collection of isolated billiard balls. He saw it as a continuous medium of energy. To him, extracting energy from the vacuum was no different than dipping a bucket into a rushing river. The energy is already flowing. You simply need to create a sinkhole to let it pour in. This perspective reframes our entire understanding of generation. We do not create electricity. We merely disturb the equilibrium of the ether to make it flow. This leads us to the enigma of numbers, specifically the famous Tesla obsession. If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe. This is often treated as numerological mysticism, but if we look at it through the lens of vibration and geometry, it becomes a blueprint for energy flow. Consider the phenomenon of vortex math. If you take the pattern of doubling, which is the biological pattern of cell division, 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and apply digital roots, adding the digits until you get a single number, you get a repeating pattern. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. The numbers 3, 6, and 9 are missing from this physical doubling sequence. They represent a higher dimensional flux field. In this model, 3 and 6 represent the oscillation of energy, yin and yang, magnetism and electricity, while 9 represents the control, the singularity, or the axis around which the energy rotates. Tesla wasn't casting spells. He was describing the vector geometry of how energy spirals through the fabric of reality. He believed that to master frequency, you had to master the mathematics of the vortex, the fundamental shape of the universe's motion. Now, pause and apply this to yourself. If the universe is a broadcasting system of specific frequencies and geometric patterns, what is the human brain? Tesla proposed a radical idea. My brain is only a receiver. In the universe, there's a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. This contradicts the modern view of the brain as a hard drive that stores memories locally. Tesla suggested that memory and consciousness might be non-local, stored in the field, the ether, and accessed via the brain's tuning mechanism. This aligns with the holographic universe theory, which posits that every piece of the universe contains the information of the whole. If your brain is an antenna, then inspiration or intuition is simply a moment of perfect impedance matching where your internal frequency aligns with an external transmission of information. This explains why multiple scientists often discover the same invention at the same time, independently. The frequency of that idea became available in the field, and those with the best-tuned receivers picked it up. So, why are we not living in the world Tesla envisioned? Why are we not drawing free energy from the ambient medium and traveling on beams of resonance? The answer lies in the friction between the laws of physics and the laws of economics. Tesla's world wireless system had a fatal flaw in the eyes of his financier, J.P. Morgan. You cannot put a meter on it. If energy is wireless and ubiquitous, pulled from the very earth beneath your feet like air, it cannot be monetized. Scarcity is the foundation of our current economic hierarchy. To introduce infinite abundance via resonant energy extraction would collapse the energy markets, destabilize geopolitical power structures based on oil and gas, and fundamentally rewrite the social contract. We chose combustion over resonance. We chose the explosion of matter over the oscillation of the ether. We built a civilization that fights against nature's resistance, burning, pushing, exploding, rather than one that harmonizes with nature's flow. However, the laws of physics are patient. The principles Tesla laid out, energy, frequency, vibration, are immutable. We are seeing a resurgence of his work not because of nostalgia, but because our current methods are hitting a ceiling. We are reaching the limits of chemical propulsion. We are reaching the thermal limits of silicon chips. To go further, to compute faster, to travel deeper into space, we are being forced to return to Tesla's path. Quantum computing relies on the superposition of states, vibration. Wireless charging is becoming standard, resonance. The study of dark energy is essentially the study of the ether. We are slowly, painfully, crawling back to the fork in the road where we took the wrong turn a century ago. Imagine a future where we finally tune in. A future where cities are not powered by burning millions of years of fossilized sunlight, but by resonating with the current pulse of the planet. A future where medicine is not just chemical, but vibrational, treating the frequency of the disease rather than the symptom. A future where we understand that we are not isolated beings, but waveforms interacting in a vast energetic ocean. The science is there. The secrets Tesla spoke of are not hidden behind a veil of magic. They are hidden in plain sight, vibrating at a frequency we have been conditioned to ignore. The universe is speaking to us constantly. The stars, the earth, and the atoms in your hand are singing a song of infinite energy. The only variable that remains is whether we are willing to build the machine or the mind capable of hearing it. Ultimately, Tesla's tragedy was not that he was wrong, but that he was a man of the future, living in a present that could not contain him. He offered us the lightning bolt of Zeus, and we used it to boil water. But the offer still stands. The frequencies are still humming. The earth is still ringing like a bell, waiting for us to strike it in just the right way. We must ask ourselves if we are brave enough to let go of the solid, safe illusion of the material world and embrace the chaotic, terrifying, and limitless potential of the vibrational reality. To do so requires more than just engineering. It requires a shift in consciousness. It requires us to stop looking at the world as a collection of things and start seeing it as a field of relationships. Are you prepared to accept that you are not a solid entity moving through empty space, but a ripple in an infinite ocean of energy, and that the power to change the entire ocean lies in your ability to change your own frequency? The system exhibits zero impedance to the propagation of a scalar wave in a non-linear vacuum manifold.